want to take your game to the next level? You want to be a world champion? Take the fighter training stack. Victor Conte's fighter training stack has brought me to the next level. Everything that I take on a daily basis. The fighter training stack is the best thing out right now. Devin Haney, I'm Snack Strong. Get it now, right now.
What books have you been reading?
Uh, just my Buddhist and Hindi philosophy stuff. A lot of books that I just enjoy. I like to just go over certain scripts. One of my classics from the origins that made me dive deep into Buddhism was this book called The Tibetan Book of the Dead. And that's not the original title, but that's like the English title and how it's been titled since like the 1920 whatever, since the first man went to the Himalayan mountains and grabbed a portion of this manuscript and brought it back to America. And the portion that he brought back was, I came to discover that it was only 2 chapters. But nowadays we have the whole manuscript. It's pretty much like, if you ever wanted to know what it would be like to study in the Himalayan mountains, this manuscript is pretty much what the Buddhists or what the Tibetan monks are teaching out there. It's a lot of their philosophy and stuff like that. But the original 2 chapters is called, the reason why he titled it the Tibetan Book of the Dead is because it's about the bardos. It's about the portion of time from this life into the next life. So according to this book, there's a time cycle of 30-something or 40-something days from the passing of one life to the coming into a next life. And the guy was very fascinated with that. So he brought those 2 chapters over. But for me, that stuff is the deep, that's the deep diving stuff. But when you buy this book, I got it back at Barnes and Noble's years ago, over 10 years ago. So you get this book nowadays, chapters teach you more about their philosophy. And it's just interesting. So I've always carried it. I've always held on to it. It's always been like a rock that I go to. It always helps bring me back into meditation. So I'll give you a portion of it that's memorized by me. It's very short, the part that I have memorized. It starts with, "Oh, Asla, Asla, fortunate child of Buddha nature, do not be oppressed by the forces of ignorance and delusion, but rise up now with resolve and courage. In ignorance from up until now, you have had more than enough time to sleep, so do not slumber any longer, but strive after virtue with body, speech, and mind. Are you oblivious to the sufferings of birth, old age, sickness, and death? For now is an opportunity for you to not sit idly, but upon reflection of death, you surely can bring your practice to completion." And that's where my memory goes right there on the first page. So something like that.
Some of that could,
it just
be I think some of that could be applied to like what's happening right now, because a lot of people are kind of not taking what's going on like super serious. The whole don't be oblivious of what's going on and all that.
Yeah, there's another part, like 2 lines later, it says the moments of your life are not expendable, and the possible circumstances of death are beyond your imagination. So if you do not achieve an undaunting, confident security now, what point is there of being alive, O living creature? So it's a reflection on death and how you need to understand your place and what you really are. That way you don't fear death. And you don't live in this belief, right? To believe is great, but to have a false belief can lead to negative things. So that's why through things like spirituality and Buddhism, Christianity, other things, I believe that all these spiritual things, all they're trying to do is seek the truth of the matter of the spirit, which I believe has the potential of being everlasting. So we live in a lot of fear. There's so much going on in our heads, but we need to take care of ourselves, take care of others, and we've all lived through it, through our karmic experiences. We've all treated others poorly. We've been treated poorly. We know what the consequences are like, and we grow. you know. So I believe this is a great time for people to be home and to reflect, regardless of if they can keep their job, if they lost their job, if they're going to be struggling to keep their business. You know, life is always evolving. There's no certainty, and that's a fundamental thing in Buddhism, is impermanence. Impermanence is the law of the universe. No day will be the same. Every day is different, and every day is not guaranteed. So, like I said, those I've been dabbling in. I dabble in those, and I've been reflecting with this time. I've been trying. I got a goal that before this is over, I'll be able to meditate for 2 hours in one sitting. Before the lockdown is done, I want to be able to do a 2-hour sitting meditation, and hopefully that high level of focus and concentration and ability to even just relax and calm your mind for 2 hours. There's just a lot of benefits, even if one doesn't achieve a high level of enlightenment and all that stuff. I believe that there's a lot that a regular human being can benefit from the practice of meditation.
No, yeah, certainly it's a way to kind of like de-stress from everything and like center yourself. And you know, I in college I did a lot of the meditation exercises, and I noticed it just helped me calm down and not be as anxious or strung up in a way.
Definitely, I noticed the same too in my early 20s, and it just seems to be like something that helps without going to therapy and maybe even pharmaceuticals. So I definitely almost prescribe meditation.
Do you do it when you're like in camp? Do you do it as a way to kind of decompress from having hard camps and being pulled in all directions during like a build up to your fights?
There's so much happening. A lot of times I get to do it before camp. If I was to do anything in camp, a lot of times, you know, I rely on sleep and almost working out makes you feel good, right? You get the endorphins and everything. So eventually, after a while, I feel good, I feel great, and I feel ready to perform. If I want to relax, if I want to focus my mind, I don't do the same as in my off season. It's better to focus on the competition. So instead of meditation where you relax, it'd be better to do visualization techniques. You know, camp, you kind of have a goal, you have something in front of you. So it's great to visualize that activity in front of you, that thing that you want to achieve, instead of just being passive and going and, you know, doing something basic, a basic form of relaxation, you know, because it might be hard too. You know, you got this event coming up, you know, you got all this other stuff. So instead of letting your mind feel the pressure of it, hone in on the fact that this is a manifestation that is about to present itself. This is an activity that you are going to be participating in, and let's mentally prepare and physically prepare as much as possible. And I do believe that mental preparation has a bigger role than a lot of people give it credit for. Even throughout my whole life, I was prepared to be champion of the world. My original trainer, Ben Getty, he groomed me, and he always instilled that I would be at the highest level, you know? So I never visualized myself being nowhere but the highest level in the sport of boxing. And I was obviously there as an amateur when I competed amongst the highest level of the amateur ranks, trying to go to the '08 games. So when I turned pro, we just had our eyes set for the top, you know? And I just think that it's very important to mentally see yourself achieving your goals.
When you do meditate, like what are you thinking about, or what are you like visioning in your mind to kind of calm you down and get you in that state?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, depending on the situation, you might come across a different emotion. You know, there's been times where I've been in meditation and not really for no reason, but for ultimately almost no reason, you run into fear, right? You run into maybe some anxiousness, anxiety, maybe some fear, you know, and like, where's it coming from? Sometimes in meditation, fear comes from the unknown, right? It's easy to tell someone, go within yourself. But if you've never been inside yourself, and then you go in, you take a look, you go in a little deeper, It's just like water. When you're swimming, you know you can touch the bottom of the pool, even if it's a 10-foot pool. But you know that once you touch that 10-foot pool, you got 10 feet to go back up, you know? And there's a part of you that you feel every inch further you go down, you feel this risk that you're taking, you know? And even though the end goal is ultimate bliss, it's until you feel it or experience it, you might be fearful of it. And it's not even fearful of it. It's more fear of what the lack of knowing, the lack of understanding, and fear of going into the unknown or experiencing some emotions that, you know, you weren't ready for, whatever it could be. But, you know, for what meditation is acknowledging whatever arises, right? You sit down, you try to relax. If thoughts of yesterday arise, you know your mind's in the past. If thoughts of the future arrive, you know your mind's in the future. If the thoughts of work arise, you know that that for whatever reason in the now, there's something about work that the mind is putting it at the forefront, you know? So it's just giving yourself an opportunity to learn about your own mind, you know? In meditation, we call it monkey mind. It likes to jump around. We don't have a lot of mind control. And when you don't control your own mind, it makes it easy for you to be controlled or to be influenced in beliefs, right? How many people are out there who are not independent thinkers, right? I've always been an independent thinker, you know. I dropped, and it went against other people's opinions. I had to go against other people's opinions. I had to go against other people's opinions who were older than me, wiser than me, and they were advisors to me, and I had to go against their opinions because I was an individual thinker. You know, there's others who let other people's thoughts and opinions influence their beliefs and their actions, ultimately their actions, you know. So I believe that when you have control over your mind, and when you can see variety, and ultimately, you know, pick, you know, maybe you do agree with somebody. Maybe somebody did give you some great advice. There's nothing wrong with taking great advice, but you got to be able to distinguish between great advice and someone's like individual opinion about your situation, you know? That's what a lot of people were coming to me with. They were coming to me with their opinion about my life choices without having my life skills and my pedigree and my mindset and my workmanship that I knew I was going to put forth through, you know, towards the sport of boxing.